So, where was I? The borders, Rome, let me see. The borders stretching from Britain to Syria. In 117, the empire reached its territorial peak. In 117, under the Emperor Trajan, with its borders stretching from Britain to Syria, it was difficult to manage the administration of distant provinces. This divide This divided Rome into the Western Empire and the Eastern Empire. The Western Empire fell into bankruptcy, while the Eastern Empire contained majority of the wealth. Did you get that? The Western Empire, bankruptcy, right? Um, the Eastern Empire contained majority of the wealthy provinces, while the Western provinces were focused on agriculture and were much poorer. Funds of the Western Empire were also devastated due to the constant war, whether it was barbarians at the gate or internal civil wars. The Western Empire was in almost a continual state of conflict. Therefore, it required a very large army. This army ate heavily into the budget. Sounds like America. On the state's leading development of infrastructure and civil projects to be put on the sidelines. Transnational elite. Way back then. Right. Um, in favor of military expansion. It says military expenditures. Rome's economy was also driven by slave labor. After that expansion of Trojans, further emperors acted much more defensively and sometimes lost more land than they gained. This lack of expansion meant that no new people would be conquered, enslaved, right? No more slaves to be obtained. And therefore was no steady supply of slaves to fuel the economy. This caused the economy to collapse as if no longer sustained itself. Lack of funds meant that the state had less money, um, you know, to spend on the army, causing there to be a shortage of professional legionaries. Rome's army once was the envy of the ancient world, but the new empire was forced to relax its recruitment criteria in order to defend its borders, known as, basically hiring mercenaries, known as the Forae. Um, the Forae barbarians units were allowed into the legions, and foreign mercenaries were hired to support the army. These new soldiers often never stepped foot inside of Rome and cared little for it. They really were loyal only to their commanders, their wages, and their people, not the Roman Empire. This was what was, leading many to turn on the Romans when it was profitable. Another issue, plaguing the empire was ineffective leadership. First millennium, 286, and then later Ravenna in 402. Succession often passed, to kids, you know. Succession often passed to children, as well as leading to several incompetent emperors that only obtained the position through birthright. The last emperor, Romulus, was only 16 when he was deposed, and he provided little resistance to the invading barbarians. Aristocracy grew incredibly powerful due to low taxes, with some acquiring more wealth than the central government. Elon. This led to them effectively controlling weak emperors who desperately needed Biden, right? Who desperately needed their money, with tactics of profit taking priority over state. With such a corrupt and ineffective leadership, there's no wonder the population and many of the new barbarian soldiers had little faith in the ruler, Biden. In the ruler. Um, it is supposed to be argued that Christianity has played a role in the decline of the emperor. Christianity was legalized in 313 and became Rome's official religion in 380. The fact that Christianity had a single God was distractively opposed to Roman methods of control. When conquering new lands, the Romans would often incorporate local gods into state religion, allowing them to be worshipped by local or likening them to an existing deity and emerging the two this way an effective tool of Romanization, slowly integrating the newly conquered into the Roman society having multiple gods. Also, this allowed the Roman emperors to be worshipped as gods, and it was from this that they gained a lot of their legitimacy. See, the first emperor, Augustus, defied his adopted father, Julius Caesar, proclaimed himself as the son of a god. Christianity could not allow this, however, leading to the loss of a significant amount of authority for emperors and making the process of integrating new people much more difficult. The empire fell in 476, but the Burgham's legacy lives long far past this day. Roman culture has had a tremendous effect on the Western world from time of the past to the present day. Rome's religion, Latin Christianity, also showed complete dominance over the medieval West, with the Pope serving as a figurehead for all Europe from his seat in Rome. So even though the Roman Empire fell, its influence has persisted throughout history, making it one of the most impactful empires to ever have existed. It exists today, still, because of the colonial barbarian foundation of oppression, slavery, unjust and cruel punishment for experiment or pleasure, the systematic structure of the racial divide between human beings, that one individual is less value than the next individual, as if we were in law by law, inanimate objects, just property. So you look at it how you want, but you can reflect back through the man-made scripture of events of past, passing, and present, of where they're headed or where their ideology stands from time before to present day right now.